Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the AI Daily news you need in around 5 minutes. We have the Olympics coming up pretty soon. They are kicking off on July 26th in Paris, and Google will apparently be the official AI sponsor for Team USA. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means a few things. First of all, the broadcast will pull from the immersive views that were added to Google Maps over the last few years, adding additional information and giving 3D views for the venues where the competition is happening. Announcers and commentators will use Google Search AI overviews in broadcast segments, for example, answering trivia questions about the Olympics. In one part of it, comedian Leslie Jones will ask Gemini to help her learn a new sport, and so on and so forth. This is a straight-up advertising partnership. This is a chance for Google to show off what it's got, which could go either very well for the industry or quite poorly. For now, we will just have to wait and see. Over in Chipland, the information is reporting that OpenAI is holding talks with Broadcom about developing new chips. Summarizes Yahoo Finance, OpenAI is exploring the idea of making AI chips on its own to overcome the shortage of expensive GPUs that it relies on to develop models. The report says that OpenAI is hiring former Google employees who worked on Google's tensor processing unit, and that they've decided to develop an AI server chip. An OpenAI spokesperson was circumspect, saying, OpenAI is having ongoing conversations with industry and government stakeholders about increasing access to the infrastructure needed to ensure AI's benefits are widely accessible. Which basically reads to me like them saying, yeah, of course we're having conversations about building our own chips. Everyone is having conversations about building their own chips. I think for now it's not clear exactly what will come out of those conversations or where any actual partnerships would come down. Next up, there has been a lot of discussion this week of Samsung's AI features on their new Galaxy Z Fold 6. The Verge, for example, writes, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 sketch-to-image tool is ridiculous, fun, and slightly worrying. They write, Samsung would very much like us and its shareholders to know that its new phones are the AIest phones that ever AI'd. And the Fold 6 that I'm testing comes with a new tool called Sketch-to-Image. Draw a rough sketch on a photo or an empty note page, and it will use generative AI to turn that into an image. I shrugged it off as just another AI thing when Samsung announced it on stage, but it's really good. So good that it worries me a little. Using the sketch-to-image tool in a note is pretty harmless. You draw something, highlight it, and choose from a variety of styles like 3D cartoon and illustration, and turn your doodle into something more detailed. The author says that they worked with their 2-year-old to draw things like goofy-looking dump trucks and school buses. But then they say using sketch-to-image on a photo is where things got weird. The problem, they said, is something they called the bee problem. I took a photo off a dock just south of downtown Seattle with some flowers in the foreground. Because they're close to the camera and my focus was in the distance, they're slightly blurred. I drew the world's worst sketch of a bee on one of those flowers, figuring AI would insert an in-focus image of a bee, giving it away easily as a fake. Wrong. The issue, the author writes, if I didn't know the bee's origin story, there's no way I'd think twice about it if I scrolled past that on Instagram. I'd assume the photographer snapped the picture at just the right time and hung around waiting for a bee to fly into the frame. To be fair to Samsung, there is a little watermark that says AI-generated content down at the bottom, but it would be very, very easy to miss. The author did note that the results aren't always that good. For example, a giant pirate ship in the harbor is probably not tricking anyone. Ultimately, for this author, there are questions but no good answers, and ultimately just a recognition that the world we're moving into is very new and unpredictable in how it will all play out. Analysts also pointed out that Apple's AI strategy and Samsung's AI strategy could not be more different. Yahoo Finance writes, Samsung is angling to quickly build a large user base for its generative AI services, thus incentivizing developers to build apps for its Galaxy AI platform. To do that, they're making those AI features available on phones from the last 3 generations. Overall, they write, Samsung says it expects to put Galaxy AI on some 200 million devices by the end of the year. Apple, meanwhile, will basically only give the very most recent generations of the iPhone access to Apple Intelligence. That's because, of course, Apple is trying to use this to boost iPhone sales. They want to use it as a way to get people to upgrade rather than holding on to their quote-unquote good enough iPhones. Whether that works will likely have a big impact on how Apple stock performs at the end of this year. Lastly today, Google has announced a new AI industry forum called the Coalition for Secure AI, or COSAI. They write the new industry forum will invest in AI security and leverage Google's secure AI framework. Their first 3 work streams are software supply chain security for AI systems, preparing defenders for a changing cybersecurity landscape, and AI security governance. Founding members of the organization include Amazon, Anthropic, ChainGuard, Cisco, Cohere, GenLab, IBM, Intel, Microsoft, NVIDIA, OpenAI, PayPal, and Wiz. And all of this will be housed under Oasis Open, the International Standards and Open Source Consortium. On the one hand, it feels to me like there are so many of these announcements that it's never exactly clear which ones are actually significant or not. But the fact that all of the big players are here, with the notable exception of Meta, suggest that this might be a fairly significant effort and one that we will keep an eye on. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.